If they are unwilling to change, they must experience consequences.
Oh? And now it's time for Brad versus TikTok, my daily segment where I take on the craziest ideas from the Clock app.
Pronoun of the day is slugs.
Today, we're catching up with one of the most hated people on all of TikTok, Jeffrey Marsh, who's back with a disturbing, intolerant, and insane message for people out there who have family members who support Trump. Let's take a listen, and guys, jump scare warning.
Hi, should you cut off contact with family members just because they are voting for Donald Trump? Yes.
Oh?
If so far they have not been able or willing to listen to compassion, to listen to kindness, to listen to you, or even to do their own research and discover that hatred's not the answer, that love and kindness is the answer. If they are unwilling to change, they must experience consequences.
Oh?
And you should not withhold those consequences from them. The consequence in this case would be they don't get your beautiful, loving, wonderful presence in their lives. It's over. And they are gone. You need to make it real for yourself.
Ugh. I hate it here. Now, the comment section on this did eat Jeffrey up. And while I don't support the mean comments, some of them did make me chuckle a little bit. One person said, "Should you cut off contact with your hairdresser?" The answer is yes. Another person wrote, "It puts the lotion on the skin" vibes. Another person wrote, "Family's more important than politics, at least to me. Amen." Another person said, "So much for compassion and peace and open-mindedness." Yup. Where did that go? Now, I have to say, this is a little bit personal for me, how much this video and this message truly bothers me, because you guys might not know this, but I became estranged from my dad in 2016. And so, wow, nearly 10 years. So I have no father in my life. I have no dad. We had a really toxic relationship. I was abused by my stepmother for years while he just watched and did nothing. And that's something that really makes me sad. That's this empty space in my life where, you know, I have a great stepfather. I have a cool father-in-law who I've really gotten to know. I mean, we're not technically married, but you know what I mean? It's like the same thing. But while I don't think it really affects me a ton these days, it was a really hard and sad thing for me not to have a father in my life. The idea that somebody would have a meaningful and positive relationship with a parent, but simply throw it away because they don't like how that person votes is not just insane to me, it's actually insulting to so many people who have lost their parents, who don't have a parent, who are estranged from their parent, or what have you, who would kill to have a parent in their life who loves them and wouldn't give a shit who they check off at the ballot box once every 2 to 4 years. It really does make me angry to see somebody casting away family members for such an inane reason, and let alone doing it yourself in your own life is bad enough. Going on the internet and encouraging other people, trying to advocate to break up people's families. That's just demented. Like, that's sick. Wherever that's coming from is probably some personal damage or trauma or whatever, but it's just a sick way to spend your time and to use your capital you have as a social media influencer. There's also something so creepy and controlling about this, threatening adults with consequences. Like, these aren't children, these aren't toddlers, and you don't have the right to control them and how they think or who they support politically. You get to decide who you vote for. You get to make up your own mind. You don't get to control other people's minds and make their minds up for them. That's actually not how a healthy relationship between adults works. Imagine the inverse, and I actually know people, because I'm out here in West Michigan where there's very Christian, Republican, rural communities. I actually know people who grew up in that kind of community and have become more liberal, and their parents have threatened them or threatened to cut them off if they vote for Kamala or if they voted for Biden in 2020. I think that's crazy. I think that's intolerant. It's closed-minded. No one person's vote really makes anything of a difference. And I'm sure if Jeffrey was presented with that kind of scenario, Jeffrey would say that's psycho behavior. And you know what? I would agree. Jeffrey would say that's abusive behavior. And you know what? I would agree. But you can't have it both ways. You can't oppose that kind of thing, then think it's fine to do it in the opposite direction. Well, I guess you can, but it makes you a total hypocrite. And Jeffrey's view of politics, as if these complex issues that divide us are really so simple that it's just kindness and compassion versus hatred. Give me a break. You are vastly oversimplifying the issues facing this country and the fact that many of them are complicated and nuanced and serious, and good people of good faith can come down on either side on many of these complex questions that divide us. Plus, even if you are a Kamala supporter, you are a liberal, and your goal is to convince your stupid MAGA parents or whatever you look at them as, cutting them off is not the way to do that. You have a much better chance of changing their views, or at least moderating them somewhat, by maintaining a relationship and sharing different perspectives, sharing with them information that they won't see in their echo chambers, asking them questions that make them think critically about some of the things they're believing or accepting. But you can't do any of that if you just cut them off because they dare disagree with you and your infinite wisdom, Jeffrey Marsh. You know, guys, I try not to let these videos work me up, but this one really bothered me. And of course, Jeffrey wanted to play the victim because Jeffrey got a few mean comments on this. And so Jeffrey put out another video taking some random comment who said Jeffrey looked like the clown from It and saying that all Republicans are evil. Yeah. Take a listen to this follow-up.
When you look at me, do you see a human being? The right wants to unhuman us. They want to accuse us. They want to say the worst, awful things about trans folks so that we are unhuman, so that we're shameful, disgusting. And once we are unhuman to them, that means they can morally make sense of doing anything they want to us, putting our lives in danger, passing laws against us. And to put it in political terms, if you look at me and see a human being, you are a Democrat. If you look at me and see evil, disgusting, subhuman, unhuman, different and less, you are a Republican. And I really wish it was not that way.
See, I don't think this video landed the way that Jeffrey hoped it would, because I bet you a lot of people saw this video and were like, guess I'm a Republican now. To be clear, of course I view Jeffrey as a human being, not as subhuman or any of that, not at all. But what I do view Jeffrey as is a human whose advocacy is evil and disturbing and terrible in many ways, from trying to destroy people's families and have them cut off their parences over differences of opinion to very questionable behaviors on Jeffrey's Patreon. You can go look that up if you're interested in that story. It's so frustrating to see somebody like Jeffrey so blatantly use their identity and their victim script as shield from legitimate criticism. Yes, some people were mean, saying Jeffrey looked like the clown from It. I don't support mean behavior. I shouldn't even be laughing, but I don't support that. But there's plenty of valid criticisms being made, and your deflection and defense is just, everyone thinks I'm subhuman and they're just all hateful bigots towards trans people, which Jeffrey isn't even trans. Jeffrey is non-binary, which is not transgender or transsexual in any meaningful sense of the word. In fact, people like Blair White very specifically argue that non-binary should not be considered trans. So I don't even buy that to begin with. But regardless, the fact that some people are being mean to you doesn't mean there aren't plenty of legitimate criticisms, or that everybody who's a Republican just hates you because of your identity. No, they hate you because of the crazy things you're saying online and the terrible advice you're giving impressionable young people on TikTok. So maybe, Jeffrey, for 5 seconds, you could stop playing the victim and consider that maybe, just maybe, some of your critics actually have a point. But what did you guys think of these Jeffrey Marsh videos and of Jeffrey more broadly? Do let me know in the comments below, and do hit that like button to reward my suffering through this really disturbing stuff.